This small ball defense has been the best Rocket defense that we have seen in a very, very long time. One of the best D'Antoni defenses that we have seen. And it's no surprise that when their offense fell short, instead of just depending on their offense, they also had their defense to quote unquote fall back onto. And I think that's the most impressive thing, and that's the most telling thing about this series.
Yeah, Timmy Legs, you did a great job in our first hour. I'd love you to show that tape again if we can, Cindy, of just what you saw from Harden defensively on that final sequence.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the focus is going to be on him timing that block, but if you take a look at the entire play, he makes a phenomenal play right here to sit in Steven Adams' lap, because if he goes out too soon and he thinks this ball is going to go to the corner, if he leaves too soon, Steven Adams has a dunk, and there's the game winner. But instead, he waits long enough, and then he's got to cover like 20 feet to get out there. And as the ball's in the air, you see him flying, and then he takes a huge risk to get airborne and not just stop and contest the shot, but actually try to get a piece of the ball in a situation and in a league right now where so many shooters are getting protected on those calls. Man, he took a chance, but technique-wise, it was perfect. He got to the side, he got a piece, and he now makes a game-winning play in a Game 7 on the defensive end to get his team to the next round.
Yes, fouling shooters is a bit of foreshadowing of what we have coming up in our other game in just a second. But, RJ, before we get to that, let's get to this. Rockets win. So it will be a star-studded second-round series against the Lakers with LeBron and AD and Harden and Westbrook. Do you give Houston a chance to win that series?
No, of course. I think Houston definitely has a chance. One thing that I think will be different in this next series is if you watch kind of the last possession or two, when the Rockets were small, there wasn't really any angles for Chris Paul or for any of these guys to really get down. They struggled a little bit in these last couple of possessions. See, when you have LeBron James and when you have Anthony Davis, you're going to be able to just not only just see the gaps, but push through those gaps. They're much bigger. Anthony Davis is going to be able to play through the post. So this is going to be a different matchup. With all respects to Steven Adams, he's not a guy you throw the ball into the post. So this is going to be a very, very different matchup against against the Lakers than they had against OKC. And lastly, the Lakers played against Dame Lillard and they played against CJ McCollum. So they're used to going against high-powered scorers, but James and Russell are on another level.
Okay, let me get to the other game last night because Timmy Legs, you touched on it. We're talking about fouling shooters. That wound up being the story of the night. In Game 2, Miami, Milwaukee, Giannis, they need a big bounce-back win. We're going to go right to the finish. Under 20 seconds to go. Bucks down 6. Find a bucket. Giannis, easy. They cut it to 2. 8.5 to play. Look at the defense Milwaukee plays. What's Miami going to do? Trapped in the corner is Jimmy Butler. What's he doing? Don't throw the ball at your own basket. Brook Lopez. Oh, they just scored 4 points in a second. It's now a 2-point game with 8.5 to play. Under 8 seconds remaining. Bucks inbounding, down 3. Huge moment in the game. Khris Middleton elevates. They call the foul. Goran Dragic, you look at him. He's standing straight up. Middleton is moving forward. Mark Davis is the ref. He sees enough. It's a call. Middleton makes all 3 free throws. We're tied. And then, here's how the game ends. Jimmy Butler in the corner. Giannis coming over. And the whistle blows. Take another look here. Giannis can't believe what just happened. You tell me, is this a foul? With no time remaining, Jimmy Butler would go to the line in a tie game, just needing to make 1 of 2 foul shots to win the game. And here's the first one. And that's your ball game. Butler scored just 13. Giannis had 29 and 14. But the Heat take a 2-0 series lead with a crazy win.
Trying to make it tough for Jimmy. The ref said that there was contact there. Maybe there was. It is what it is. I feel like personally it was the right play. I've done this multiple times in my career. When the guy's dribbling and he's getting his rhythm going, he got 4 seconds. He's not going to pass the ball. He's going to shoot the ball.
Richard Jefferson, was that a good call?
You hate to see it, but I think they both were acceptable calls. I won't call them good calls. You don't want to see games come down to foul shots, and they were both very, very close, but I think they're acceptable. And when you got one on one end, you got to expect that they're going to call something similar on the other end. So that's just something that we know. We've seen referees now go, that little chest tap where guys will run and just hit somebody in their chest. Referees started calling that. It's the smallest amount of contact or being too close to a player that is going to make the player change his shot. And the referees have been calling that consistently. It's just tough when playoff games end that way.
All right, I would never expect a former three-point champion to not defend the shooter in this circumstance. So, Tim Legler, I get where you're coming from. But on the first one, the Middleton one, Dragic is going straight up. I mean, he's not even moving. What is it exactly he's supposed to do besides just allow the shot to be taken uncontested if you're going to call that a foul?
Yeah, I mean, from a technique standpoint, it's perfect. He goes vertical. He doesn't jump. His arms don't come forward at all. I think the only reason they call it is because his momentum just slightly took his chest into Middleton's chest as Middleton was going up to release that shot. Richard used a word to describe it. I'm going to use a different word. It's valid. He said acceptable. I'm going to say it's a valid call. It is. I don't like that one as much. I think it's actually an easier call in the Giannis play because he puts his left hand into his side for one reason, because his momentum was taking him in that direction. And if he doesn't put his left hand on Jimmy Butler's side, his right shoulder is probably going to hit him even harder. So he was trying to slow his body down to keep himself from really running right through Jimmy Butler. So I think anytime you touch a shooter when he's in the act of shooting and he's off the ground, because it's a finesse act and he's trying to finish the shot, you are now susceptible to a ref's interpretation, and I think it's really difficult to argue with that. If you're gonna touch a shooter or put hands on a shooter when he's up in the air before he releases the basketball, it's a valid call.
All right, valid, acceptable. Richard, I'm just going to say it, and I'm going to speak for, I think, millions of basketball fans. These are playoff games. I have no rooting interest. I have no vested interest in the outcome. I hate both calls. As a basketball fan, I've been watching the game all my life. I hate both of those calls.
Greeny, that's completely understandable. None of us like those calls either. But unfortunately, it's up to the defenders to make that adjustment.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.